The Bluegrass Boys for his band name, I guess it was called Bluegrass before it was Bluegrass, I guess, you know. But in my thinking, I think until Chubby Wise was already with him, and I think until Earl Scruggs and Lester Flint was with him before Earl was. And I think the day that Earl Scruggs showed up, I think that group right there, that was the start of what we know as bluegrass music today.
Bobby, as far as you know, the first time that band performed together was on the stage at the Grand Ole Opry?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure of that, because with Earl, when Earl come along, Bill already, as far as I know, Bill already had Chubby and Lester. And I don't know about Cedric Rainwater. I don't know, he may have been there then, or he may have not. But it would have been when Earl come along. That was the first time that I remember of that band playing, because, and I don't know if they went anywhere else and played, but I think that's the first place they played was at Opry. But I know Lester told me one time when he was talking, he told me that String Bean played with Monroe, you know. And String didn't, he just had the finger pick and the thumb pick that he played with. And so Flat told me that Monroe come in and told him, said, we got another banjo player that's coming in here tonight. Going to audition for us, and Flat thought it might. He had never heard nothing, nobody with any picks on him. And he told me, he said, I thought it was going to be another String Bean, you know. He said, I hate to see it. And he said, we was doing all right without poor old String, but he said, Scrubbers walked in there that night and stood in the corner and put them picks on him. I asked him, I said, what was the first thing you ever heard Earl play? He said, Dear Old Dixie. And he said, I ain't never heard nothing come out of a banjo in my life like that. So and Bill took him right straight and put him on that night, that's what Lester told me. So I feel like at the Opry was the first place to go.
That was an audition that day, and they went on that night.
Yeah.
Heard that. That's good.
I don't think they realized what they were really doing as far as, but I think when that band walked on the stage at the Opry, and I don't know what the first song was or anything like that, but I think that history was in the making right then, and they didn't even know they didn't realize it.
When's the first time you saw that band?
I saw them in, the only time I ever seen him was in probably about 1946 or 47. It had been, I was Ernest Tubb fan, you know, all the time, and I'm trying to sing his songs, and I was trying to tune into the Opry to hear Ernest Tubb that night, and all of a sudden I heard this guy cut out with a banjo, you know, and I never had heard one before. And back then, Monroe didn't say nothing, and nobody said anything, who it was or anything. So I listened and listened and listened until one night I heard him say, Bill Monroe and the Bluegrass Boys, and hear it. And that turned out to be Earl Scruggs that was playing the banjo. And I was listening to it. Of course, from then on, I really liked Ernest Tubb and still do and sing his song, but I became wrapped up in bluegrass music then and still am. So, but one night I heard Bill, my dad lived in Dayton, Ohio at the time. I heard Bill say, we're going to be at Memorial Hall in Dayton, Ohio tomorrow. I told my dad, I said, you gotta take me down and take me and show me to that show. We sat about 10 rows back, and he played Come to the Gap, and that's what he played on the album the first time I heard him. And I just couldn't see, I couldn't figure out how one guy could have that much coming out of just one guy could do that. When I saw him in person, it took him about a minute and a half to convince me that one guy couldn't do that.
So did you play the banjo before you played the banjo?
No, I played guitar the first thing I ever played. Played guitar. And about 3 or 4 years. And I was playing, my voice changed when I was about 16 in there somewhere. And all of a sudden I was singing Ernest Tubb songs about 8 notes higher than he was. And it was just comfortable for me to do, you know. My voice kind of changed, and I got into playing, buying, listening to Ernest Tubb. I got to playing an electric guitar. I went and bought me an amp. My dad bought me an amp, and I was playing electric guitar. And I got to listen to the bluegrass and hear some of them fiddle tunes and things like that. Well, there's a guitar player named Hank Garland come along. He played them fiddle tunes on an electric guitar, so I learned to play them right there on that guitar. They were hard to play because the frets were about that far. So, but I learned to do that with the guitar, and I got a job up there in Middletown, Ohio, playing electric guitar and with a group. And they featured me down in Roseville, Kentucky, and Monroe's song. Played the guitar and did that until Larry Richardson and a guy and his wife came through there one day. They just out running around over the country, and they heard us on the radio. I think I sung one of Bill's songs or something, and he brought a banjo case in there in the studio. So when that program was over with, well, he got out. They got their instruments out and was playing for us right there in the studio, and he got that banjo and he put the picks on. That's the first time I ever seen anybody up close.
Up close.
Play the picks. And
when was that? How many years after?
That was about 1947.
So about 2 years after Scruggs invented it, there's somebody playing it with the copy. This is 2 years after Scruggs did it for the first time. Somebody's copying him already.
Yeah, yeah. Well, there was other people playing, but I had never, not in that part of the country. They wouldn't right there, you know. Larry he's from Galax, Virginia, and he knew all about Earl. He'd been listening to him, you know, a long time. So when he got out that pig and started playing the banjo, you know, I knew good well that's what I heard on the stage that Earl played. So he asked me, did I know Monty Tendros? I said, yeah. So I sung it right there and he played it. So me and him we got together right then. We both realized that our days with country music was over with. We went bluegrass all together.
What made you take up the mandolin?
I liked the fiddle awful well. The first thing I ever had was a fiddle my dad had. And I just liked the fiddle tunes. Something about them the melody and the notes, I really liked them. And I was playing guitar and we went into I was in Bluefield, West Virginia. Larry Richardson, he was up there working at the Lonesome Pine Fiddlers. Well, Larry quit, and I'd seen Monroe again, and with Jimmy Martin and Rudy Lyles and Master Clemens and Joel Price was the bluegrass boys, and they came to the State Theater up there, and we had a little radio program, and we were. I went up to the station for something, I forget now what it was, but anyway, Jimmy Martin and Rudy Lyles and Vassar all just walked into the studio. Well, Jimmy broke the string on his guitar, and I just lived around the corner. So I went down there and got him a guitar string, and of course they played that night, and they were a guest on our show that day, did a song. And I went to the show that night and watched him and everything, so I got acquainted. Jimmy heard me sing, and Larry Richardson, in the meantime, he quit the Fiddlers and left and went to Bristol, playing with the Osborne brothers. So I knew that Jimmy Martin was a good lead singer, and that's what we needed, you know. But I was playing the guitar, and I called him and asked him if he wanted to come up there, and he was working at Morristown, Tennessee, with the group. He had left Monroe. So he got on a bus and rode and came up there. And first, of course, I got out a guitar with me and was going to say, put 2 guitars. You know, he looked at me, he said, "Sport," he said, "that ain't going to work out." He said, I'm going to play the guitar. He said, that's my instrument.
Period.
He said, the tenor singer's supposed to play the mandolin. You're going to have to go get you a mandolin. So I had a little old mandolin there that I went over to North Carolina and paid $15 for. I got that thing out and I didn't know nothing about it. I told him, I said, I can't play this thing right here. He said, sport, the tenor singer's got to play a mandolin. I tell you. So I just kept fooling with it. So I found out that it noted like a fiddle.
Yeah.
And I've been playing the guitar with a thumb pick and a finger pick. So I had to transfer, go back to a flat pick. And so I fooled around that mandolin for a while and I got to the point where I could play it. And I found out that you could play fiddle tunes on a mandolin. So that's what I liked. And so I stuck with it. And I laid that guitar down and I had a herringbone D28 Martin at that time. I laid the guitar down and never played it again.
You want to sell it?
Stuck to the mandolin. So I'm still stuck with it.
But in your early MGM recordings, you played twin banjo with your brother too.
Yeah,
somewhere along
Sonny,
the
we needed a recording contract. And Sonny B and Red Allen had got together. And Red knew this DJ there in Dayton, Ohio, named Tommy Sutton. And we got acquainted with him. And so by Red knowing him, we got him to help us, if he could help us get a recording contract. So he knew Wesley Rose in Nashville real well. And so he had us to come to his house and we just made a tape. And Ruby was on one of them that we was playing in a nightclub downtown. I'd make more money off of singing Ruby in a nightclub than ever did making royalties off of it. And people come up and give me $10 to sing Ruby for a night. Get out right out there and sing it. So anyway, he took a tape to Nashville and he came back with us a recording contract for MGM Records and he played Ruby for him. And Sonny and Noah Crace had been working on playing two banjos together. And Ruby was one of them that they had worked out. So and that was on the tape. Noah came over there and played that with Sonny. Well,
I just have a personal question, just because I'm a big Red Allen. You did it, the demo that you did for Tommy Sutton had Noah Crace playing the second banjo?
Yeah. Tom.
Great.
So
Great.
Tommy took the tape to Nashville and Wesley Rose heard that. He had never heard of anything with two banjos on it before. They had never had been done. So he come back. He said he wants Ruby, and he said he's got to have them two banjos. So, we can do that. So we had and I'd been fooling with the banjo just a little bit, you know. When I knew how to tune one, I knew I knew what was going on back here. Because I've been around Larry Richards some, and I'd watched Earl. I'd seen Earl a few times at that time. So when we got ready to go down to Nashville to record, and Noah was going to go with us and play with Sonny. And about a week or two before we left, had Noah disappeared. He just flatly disappeared. We didn't know nobody. Nobody knew Red or nobody. Didn't know where he went. And so Sonny he reached me a set of picks. He said, well, we got to have that recording contract. He said, you've got a couple of weeks to learn how to play Ruby. So I just got to work on the banjo, and I got through it somehow. We went down there and poor Wesley. We never did say nothing, and he never either. So we got through that and got us a recording contract. But that's how I played the banjo on four. We did 4 songs down there, and I played the banjo with Sonny on all 4 of them.
And put the banjo down and never played it again?
We attempted to play it on the road, you know. And did. I took it and played it. When those songs came out, I took it and played on the road some, you know. But when we quit using the two banjos, well, I just never play one anymore.
That's amazing.
And that's how that came about. The fiddle, I got to fool with a fiddle and got to hang around with Kenny Baker, and I couldn't, still can't play one like I'd like to, but Kenny said, I want you to go, my boy in Dry Branch Fire Squad is going to record it. I want you to go over here today and play a fiddle with me on a couple of them. I said, Kenny, I said, I can't play no fiddle with you. He said, yeah, you can. So I go over and I play a little bit of fiddle with Kenny on some things, a couple things. And I really learned fiddle was about my favorite thing. If I could have ever played the fiddle and sing and have play rhythm like Benny Martin did, fiddle, I'd have done that. But there's just no room for everybody wanted to hear me sing. They didn't want to hear me play on the fiddle. So that's what I ended up doing.
Now you learned to play fiddle tunes on the guitar, on the mandolin, on the fiddle, but your favorite country artist was Ernest Tubb. Who were your favorite fiddlers? There must have been great fiddlers back then at that time.
I picked out a dozen of them that I really liked. Kenny Baker, I guess I got acquainted with Kenny. And, I got to know Benny Martin real well, Tommy Jackson, Hattie Forster. And they were just great players in their own right. They were the best. And it's just, I don't know, I just enjoyed their playing, got to know them personally, and the more I listened to them, the more I wanted to play the fiddle. So I still play the fiddle on our shows now, some. If I ever run across a good player, I'll just fire myself and get him to play the fiddle.
What was it like in the early days after Monroe hit with the Scruggs band and the first generation after Monroe, that first few years? What was it like trying to develop your own sound? Did you try to consciously copy what Bill was doing? Or were you trying to go in different directions? How did that work?
When we first started recording, me and Sonny used twin fiddles. Art Stamper was a pretty good player, and Art was up there in Ohio, and we got him to play with us in Red Allen, and we played some clubs around there. And Art went with us to Nashville to record Ruby, and we had twin fiddles worked out on three more of them. So when we got down there, we were just going to use the one fiddle, and Wesley Rose, he said, well, Monroe was using twin fiddles every once in a while. He said, why don't you try that? So we did, and him and Tommy played twin fiddles on the first record. So we just got, that was, and Red was doing all the lead singing, and I was doing all the tenor singing. Normally the same type of harmony that Monroe and Lester Earl did, So we started out like that. The first records, we come down to the song Once More, was in Wheeling, West Virginia. And a guy wrote the song, Dusty Owens wrote that song. And he sang it for us, and we was going to go record pretty quick. And I asked him, I said, you care if we record it Once More? And he said, no. So me and Sonny and Red got in the car, and we drove from Wheeling, West Virginia to Dayton, Ohio. We were going home one night, and we got to singing that song Once More. And we sung it every way you could sing it. And somewhere along the line, I just started singing it in a higher key. And Red was a tenor singer when he came with us. So he just got the low part of the tenor. And when we run across that right there, we stopped, and it was in the winter time, we stopped the car and got outside and got a guitar and stood out there and made sure that we wouldn't forget how we did that, So we knew right there that we had run across some kind of singing that we had never heard before. So Once More, and we had to argue with Wesley Rose. He had never heard it neither. We had to argue with him to get to do it, So he finally told us. He said, there ain't nobody sings like that. He said, you got the other kind of singing going, so just stay with that. we wanted to be different. And so he said, "You're not going to lose your record contract over that, just changing your harmony around like that." So we told him, "Well, if we lose it, we do. But we won't sing like that because my voice it just fit the part. Red and Sunday just come in under me anything we wanted to sing, and we got to listen to Charlie and Ira Lubin split that do different parts, you know, and we got to doing that with three of us. You know, we did. We changed around, changed the parts around, and we could sing anything that there was. There was no song that we couldn't switch those parts and sing. I mean, I might sing high lead one line and tenor the next line or whatever. And but he finally let us do once more, and that was the first start of the high lead singing. And that's what I'm doing right now.
Was that your best-selling record after that came out at the time?
At that time, they started the charts back then. I think it was I don't remember if it was top 20 or what. Later on went to the top 40, I know. But it got to 17 on the charts.
Did that sell better than Ruby?
No, it didn't sell better. When Ruby came along, that was just a standard to start with. And it was...
Didn't they cut that once more before you did?
Huh?
Didn't they cut that before y'all did?
No, we recorded first, but see, Acuff and Wesley Rose owned Hickory Records. So Acuff goes over and recorded. He recorded once more after we did, and Hickory Records put it out before MGM put ours out. And we got done dirty on that.
Did Rose didn't tell you he was going to take it over to Acuff?
Huh?
Did Rose tell you he was going to take it to Acuff?
No, he didn't tell us nothing. He just went ahead and released it. When ours come out, why, it took care of itself, I guess. That was just...
Well, no comparison in it, but you know, Acuff done that for years on opera. He done that song. Acuff, he sang that song on opera for years and years.
I know it. Yeah, well, Ralph Emery's playing, that's all he played up there, and he wouldn't play ours. So we got done dirty over that deal there, you know, but man, it didn't make no difference. That was fine. Acuff couldn't sing it like us, and we didn't want to sing it like him.
You also were one of the early bluegrass bands to use dobro. Is that something you did in the studio or back in Dayton? Did you ever do jobs in the bars with a dobro player?
We had a little guy at Wheeling. There's a guy named Johnny Dacus that played the fiddle with us at Wheeling, and he stayed with us. He didn't stay with us very long, but there's another little guy that, we recorded, let's see, let me think, I don't want to get ahead of myself here. We went to Nashville. We've been using the twin fiddles, that's what it was. And when Once More came along, Once More, let's see what else that session was, I can't remember, anyway, the song Once More come along. Oh, My Destiny was another one. And I forget now, there's two more I can't remember. But those songs there come on, and we wanted to, everybody was using fiddle, you know. If you didn't have a good fiddle player, boys, you really didn't need one. So we got to thinking, we went down there to record and to do Once More. And Wesley Rose, he said, why don't you, if you don't want to use the fiddle, why don't you use Shot Jackson? He said, he's a good dobro player. Well, we'd heard Shot play, so he went ahead and got Shot Jackson to play the dobro on that. He was the first dobro player that we had, other than the little guy. There was a little guy named Ricky Russell that came to Wheeling. And through Shot's playing, though, with John and Jack, and while we were acquainted with him, and we'd seen him with John and Jack, so that sounded like was different. So this little guy, he worked with us at Wheeling, but when we got shot to play on once more, She's No Angel and My Destiny, it changed. We didn't use the fiddle then.
Yeah.
We had there again, we had something that nobody else was really using, you know. But, the first people that used the dobro that as far as bluegrass goes, was, I think Josh played with Willie and Sonny Cooper at Wheeling. And I think he did. I'm not sure if he played it with him at Wheeling. But now, the first guy that ever used a dobro was Mac Wiseman, and Josh played dobro. But he only did it, Mac got Josh to play the bass with him. But he would feature Josh playing dobro somewhere throughout the show. But as far as the first guy that ever played the dobro with, or had a dobro was Mac. Willie and Stoney had a dobro player at Wheeling. And then, of course, Josh, when Lester Earl came along and we had Shot Jackson record with us, and then Lester Earl came along with Josh. Why? Then the dobro started being a popular instrument again. Oz had done real well with it with A-Cup, you know. So that's how come we started using the dobro. And so we dropped the dobro for a while, and had Blaine Sprouse playing fiddle with us some, Glenn Duncan. Who else we have? Raymond? Steve Thomas was a good player. Those were good.
Jimmy Mattingly.
Who?
Jimmy Mattingly, for God's sake.
Oh yeah, he
What a
was
fiddle player he is.
We had some good.
John Camp was there for about, 3 months?
Yeah.
That long?
Yeah.
And,
We had some good fiddle players with us, you know. Let's see, I think it was either Blaine or I forget now. It was either Blaine or Steve Thomas won. We were going to go to Ohio, and we didn't have. Blaine couldn't go, or
it was
something.
Blaine. Blaine couldn't go.
I think it was Blaine.
He was recording with somebody else that night.
Blaine couldn't go. We played. We either played Ohio first and then come to Cherokee, or vice versa. And we got Gene Wooten to go play. And we got up. I remember this. We was in Ohio.
Cleveland.
Gene, was you with us at the time?
Cleveland.
Gene Wooten. Anything, it didn't make no difference for his Tennessee Hound Dog, or it didn't make no difference. Gene Wooten could play anything that he wanted to play on that dobro. Fiddle tunes, banjo licks, guitar stuff on 1/8, anything. And the people got to, man, the first time we got on stage with Gene Wooten, people went, they hadn't heard, well, Josh had left Flat and Scruggs. Him and Kenny, I guess, was working together, and people they hadn't heard dobro for a while. But when Gene Wooten, he got such a tone out of it, and good player, people went. They come. I think they come to see him more than they did us. Not really, but I don't know. We never did. We was never out without the dobro since. And when Sonny retired. And I started myself. Why? I just stayed with the dobro. Still got it. So.
What was the first time you met Dill?
Monroe?
Yeah.
I tried to meet him at that before I saw him and Lester Earl together, but I never get. I got his autograph. And it looked like he signed it Dill Monroe instead of Dill. But. The first time I ever actually met Bill was in Bluefield, West Virginia. We had, that time he played up there. Bessie was with him. No, take it back. He had Rudy, and he had Lester Clemens and Jimmy Martin and Joel Price. And he played the State Theater that night. But he came up there that day, and he brought his mandolin up there. And got it out of the case, and they did a quartet on our show, and he never touched that mandolin. Never got a pick out of his pocket, put it, never done nothing. Jimmy Martin played the guitar on the quartet. He just got it out and held it and played, put it back in the case, and that was it. I never heard him hit one note on the man. But anyway, there was an old man there that loved that bluegrass quartet. Boy, he just loved it. And the show was over with, and we had to go downstairs to the street. And Bill, he was shaking hands with everybody, you know. And when he shook hands with me, he looked off over the yonder somewhere, you know. I never will forget that. And of course, I mean, I didn't care, you know. I just wanted to shake hands with the man. So, but this old man that run that VFW hall out there, he walked up and he said, "Bill, looks like you got a little competition around here today." He said, "Yes, sir. That's right. You got this all over the country." I never forgot that. When he said that day, you know, I thought to myself, you know, I didn't know what to think. But I guarantee you, he never thought in his lifetime that 20 years later, I'd be staring at him right in the eyes at dressing room number 2 at the Opry. That never entered his mind. I never did forget that.
Do you consider your playing to be influenced by Bill in any way, or you gone a different direction?
I tried to play like him.
Yeah.
Bill and Jethro Burns and a guy named Red Rector. I had never heard Red Rector, but I heard some of the recordings he did with Don and Red.
Yeah.
But Bill and Jethro were the only two that mandolin players that I remember. And there was a guy that worked with Roeka. I heard him play, but I never met the guy. But he was a great player, and his name was Mac McGarry. You remember him? Told me that, remember? And but I never would see the guy play. Bill and Jethro Burns was the only two there was, and I sure didn't. I couldn't play like Jethro, but I heard Bill, and I tried to play like Bill. And at one time I thought I could, but I thought I could play rawhide just like him, or just as good. But when I got right up to it, and he played rawhide for me, I never did it again. There's no use in me. Something told me that there was no use in me ever trying to play like that, because there's no way I could. And there's been a lot of guys that tried it. As far as Monroe in his heyday, the way he played, that's the way he played, and he wouldn't play no other way, and I don't think he could. And he wouldn't if he could, I don't think. He had that way of playing, and if you played with him, you had to play his style, and he'd beat you every time. But I still enjoy a lot of his playing. But I stuck with the fiddle tunes and the mandolin and hornpipes and stuff. And I got to use some of those licks on the fiddle licks. I got to use them on some songs. Well, it just kind of changed my style altogether. And we came to record Aching Heart down there. The first session we did for MGM, the break that I took on Aching Heart was the start of the mandolin player. I'd been messing with playing a lot of notes, never had a song. But when it came to Aching Heart, that was the first song that I played that style of mandolin. And it just followed me all down through the years, and I'm still playing. I can do things with that pick that I can't do with a bow at all. And but the pick, I got my mandolin set up where I can do slides and stuff like they do on the fiddles, double stops and stuff. And it just kind of separated me from everybody else that I played. And of course, there's a lot of guys now playing a lot of notes to songs. But what I find out now, and I think Raymond probably agree with me, a lot of them play a lot of notes, and I'm talking about your good players. You know, they got a little spray of notes, and any key they're in, they do that little spray of notes in other keys, and so to me, and I've always stuck to the melody. I'll put in some notes, extra notes, but I won't get away from the melody of the song. I I think when you get away, and there's people now that they change the tune up and sing them. And I think that when you get away from the melody, you've done wrote another song.
And that's all you've done.
It really.
That is all you've done, is got away from the middle.
Yeah.
That's it. You can't see anything else fall that.
I've played Sunday Side of the Mountains in many different ways. I don't know how to play the mountain. You just play it so long, a certain way, and it just becomes. You don't get tired of playing it or anything like that, but you find other ways to play it. So I've sung it a lot of years, and I've tried I've played so many different ways. Why I done forgot the first way I played it. But I still, regardless of what I do, I still stay up with the melody of the song. I think that's very important. But a lot of fiddle players. I mean, there's some good players out there today. All the instruments, banjo players, fiddle players, mandolin, guitar, but half of them I don't know what they're playing. I don't know. I don't think I know the title of what they said it was. I don't know what they're playing.
If you think about it, there's some players right here that play Monroe stuff. Good players that can play his stuff. But it's so few that will play Monroe stuff. They'd rather get off into some whatever else they want to do. And the same thing, you'll play it. When you play a tune like Surefire, just say Surefire. That is so distinct, Bobby Osborne, and as hard as a flip to do what you've done there, there ain't very many that try to do what you've done.
Yeah.
Because you've done it so different and so your way. That I don't think they know how to do that. I've only heard one or two that even tried to play that particular song, but your style, Herschel sideboard come off of you, I believe. I hear stuff that you've done way back in Herschel's playing, and that's a compliment as far as I'm concerned.
Oh yeah.
Even Duffy, that wild man.
Yeah.
He played stuff that you come up with first. I know he did.
I think that's a compliment.
I ain't gonna say
Talking about Duffy's.
about Duffy.
Yeah. Well, it's just I think when you play when you try to play like somebody else, it's a compliment. It's really a compliment to that guy that you think so much of his playing. And I appreciate people trying to play, do things that I've done. And I take it as a compliment. But and I don't know. I think Monroe in the last few years, I think he appreciated people trying to play like him. And but I think it's a great compliment for somebody to take that much interest in what you do. And but if you look at it, I looked at it the way I looked at it. When I thought that I could play rawhide as good as Monroe, and he showed me that I couldn't, I thought that taught me right there that rawhide was his ball game. And he win that game every time. And if you don't win it by judges, the crowd, he win it with the crowd. So I figured then, and I thought right then that you cannot make no difference how good you are. If you do it better, if I could done rawhide better than Bill Monroe, I would have never. You can't beat a guy at his own game. There's certain people's got a style to play, and you can't beat them at their own game. And that's why I just stuck to it. I can play some things like Monroe, I mean, I know exactly what he done back there with the pick, And I can play some things. Mike Compton does as good a job as you'll hear now play.
Well, you ain't gonna hear anybody do it better than mine.
And so,
No, that's it.
if you like Monroe's playing, Mike can he can do it, but I know I can play some Bill stuff, but I don't have the speed that I used to have back yonder years ago. But I've just had better, a lot of people's trying to play like I've played, and I take that as a compliment.
Where does your style come from? Where would you consider your influences? I mean, I've always enjoyed your mandolin, but yeah.
I guess Monroe was the one that got me to, what would Jimmy Martin say, sport, you gotta.
Yeah. Just do it.
Sport, you know. My Mandolin playing started there. It started there, but at that time I didn't know how Bill Monroe played. You know, I had to learn all over with a pick, with a flat pick, because I'd been playing with a thumb pick and finger pick.
And you had all those fiddle tunes floating around in your head that you've been playing too, I imagine.
And a lot of people, I know a lot of people think that I have tried my best to sing like Bill Monroe because I had a high voice, and they've come and told me that. But Lester Flatt's one. I did try to sing like Lester Flatt. I liked his singing, and I still do. I love Lester Flatt's singing, and I tried to sing like him. I never tried to sing like Bill Monroe. It just never. I've sung his songs, you know, but I'll sing them my way. I don't never, and I can attempt to try to sing them like him, but I can't see me singing like that. I can't. It's like I teach school over at Hyde, Kentucky, the Kentucky School of Bluegrass and Traditional Music. I teach mandolin over there 2 days a week, and the reason I'm over there is because of the traditional word, and that's what I grew up with, is the traditional bluegrass. And there's some of these new players coming on. There's nothing wrong with their playing, but I can't play that. I just can't. I can't play the new grass that they've got going nowadays, and it's just, I don't know. It's just different from what I came up with. But I couldn't. I'm glad I've got mine about over with, because I could never learn that. I could never learn to play like that. I guess it comes under the time of whether you like it or not, you know. But it's just all jumbled up. Lots of notes here and yonder, and hot licks and stuff. I just can't get. It just don't register or something.
Well, you one of a few that's got a style that's Bobby Osborne's style that you do, and everybody knows it when they hear it. Monroe that way. But who else is that way on the mountain? The rest of them, I think, come out of you and Bill.
Well,
I think.
Well, in the early days, Jim and Jesse had their own style, and Reno and Smiley had their own style.
You know.
And I agree with what you say. Today, you turn the radio on, they have to tell you who's playing before you know who's playing, because they all sing alike, they all take the same goofy breaks. It's much different.
If you think about it, country music's the same way.
Absolutely.
I mean, when Garth Brooks got popular, how many people did you hear that try to sing like themselves instead of Garth Brooks? Everybody trying to sing like Garth Brooks, and see, they forget they wasn't but one of them. The man upstairs didn't make but one of them. Same with Monroe and Flat and Scruggs. They wasn't but just one of them people that come along. And so
they show him but one Jesse McLennan.
No,
that's
exactly
wonderful right there.
That's exactly. Jesse, to me, that's. If I ever tried my best to play like somebody, and I've tried to play that stuff he does, I can do a little bit of it, but there ain't nobody. Now Luke, his grandson, he is just close as you'll find, as you'll hear. But it's not. Jesse McReynolds at one time was. He could still play some beautiful stuff on the mountain, but he's like me. He's lost a little speed, and the older you get, you do lose that. But now, as far as Jesse's really down, he's been my favorite mountain player, and I like what he does, and he can play other stuff besides his style too. But some of those slow things he splits them strings with, I can do that, and I do some of that too, and I do it on some things, but nothing like he does. And so, but I think Jesse's underrated.
Yeah. And he do the same thing on the guitar.
Yeah, I've heard.
He play amazing guitar.
I've heard him play the guitar like that. But they're in the history part of bluegrass, they came along. Jesse and Jim and Jesse came along just, they might have been just a little bit ahead of me and Sonny, but not much.
They hit the Opry in 65,
It came
65 or 6.
same year we did, 64.
I thought they were, oh, that's right.
Yeah. Opry had them on through Martha White down there before,
Right.
you know. No, Jim and Jesse and us, and Ernie Ashworth and Dottie West came to the Opry the same year.
Bobby, you said something earlier. I'd like you to go back, and Ray was talking about it last night too. You said that in his heyday, you couldn't beat Bill Monroe at his game. And Ray was talking about the size of the mandolin rattles in his mandolin, and he was just so competitive. In your heyday, in Jesse Reynolds' heyday, were you competitive? Did you think my style's better than this guy's style? And like Monroe felt that he created this whole thing, and he was the best. We know he had the ego, but did everybody else feel that way because they were musicians and they were proud of what they did? Or was Monroe just unique that way?
Monroe he had a personality that would, altogether different from anybody else. I think me and Glenn Duncan was talking about this the other day, you know. Monroe, he enjoyed being in that position right there, I think. He wanted to be the king.
He had it.
You know,
He was.
and he felt like he was. And I think they gave him a good title when they gave it to him. But he played that part. I just always, I knew good well that I had something with them on the mandolin that was different, and singing too. Mm-hmm. I knew I had something different than Monroe and than anybody. And so I never did have that feeling about my own self. I never did want to be a ruler or a know-it-all or anything like that. I always just wanted to be one of the guys. And I think I don't know about Jesse, how he felt about it. I really didn't talk to him about it. But Monroe played that part. He walked around with his head above everybody, and that was just the way he was. You know, he didn't. And I'll tell you what, when you got to know Monroe, Raymond, you knew him as well as me or anybody else. When you got to know him, he could be down to earth, you know.
Yeah.
But if you got in front of a crowd or something like that, with that mandolin, he would not absolutely. He wouldn't let you beat him. He had that kind of a thing about him. A good example of that was down at Camp Springs one year, and I feel like that everybody that worked with him, they tried to push him right to the limit. They wanted to see how high he really could sing, and Jimmy Martin was one of them. Now, the reason I say that, I don't think Flatt ever did do that to him. I can't ever see that Lester Flatt did that, would even try that with Bill. He wasn't that type of person. But take the song Little Cabin Home on the Hill and It's Mighty Dark to Travel. Things that Bill did in key G and A, Jimmy Martin would slip them right up to B flat and B and C. Just to see if Monroe could do the tenor on them songs that high, which he did. He never would. My dad always told me, he said, Carter Stanley, I think Carter Stanley might have tried to sing some of those songs pretty high, you know, the lead, like Sugar Coated Love and some of them. But my dad, he always told me, he said, Carter tried that, and he said, Bill will ruin his voice.
Yeah. Ruined any man.
But I don't think, but a good example of that right there is all these guys that, I never got to know Ed Mayfield real well, but now some of the others, now Jimmy Martin, he's a prime example, but I know he tried to, he wanted to out-sing Bill, you know, and there was no use in him trying to do that because he couldn't do it. And so I think a good example of that right there, though, was at Camp Springs one year, and Carlton Haney had his story going and all like that. So this is back in the 70s. Sam Bush and that new bunch at the Newgrass Revival or something like that came there. Sam and what was them guy's name? Right? Sam
Courtney
Bush.
Johnson was in it, Curtis Burke,
Johnson. Yeah.
Bo Walker.
They came there, and they was playing the new grass, you know, and they was on the stage, and Carlton was having Bill go out and sing with everybody, and Monroe did that. He'd walk right out there and sing with anybody, as long as they sung one of his songs. You know? Which, I mean, there wasn't no point in him singing somebody else's songs, because he never did learn nobody but his, you know. But Sam and them guys, they knew. Monroe recorded the Prisoner's song in the key of A. He took one of the fantastic break on the mountain on that. But he had electric guitar and stuff like that on that record. But they did the Prisoner's song in the key of C. They jacked that thing right up in the key of C. Well, Carlton Haney called Monroe out there to sing with him. That was the song they chose to sing, the Prisoner's song. And man, I knew what it took to sing it in A, let alone B flat, B or C. And let's see who this is. I'll get that later. But anyway, they kicked it off right there in the key of C. And they just stepped back from Monroe. He's either be a heel or a hero right there, you know, because he had all them people sitting out there. Monroe stepped up there and just sung it. He just reared back and let her go. And he sung that thing in key of C. Bush and them, their mouths flew open. I think they thought they had him right there that day. But when he got off the stage, he come back there and I said, Bill, I hate to see people do that to you there. He said, well, you got to show fellas like that. So he said, you got to show them fellas right there, they can't do that to you. I mean, he just blurred that out, and I thought, well, that's not truth in that. I think that Bill, I never tried to do him that way. If I really wanted to do it, he'd call me up to sing with him or whatever. If I wanted to do that, I put him up there, I put that lead up there where I know good and well he'd never get no tenor to that. I never did do that. I always asked Bill, I'd say, what key you feel like singing in today? Mm-hmm. And tenor was the only thing he wanted to sing. He would sing lead, you know, but he sang with somebody, he had him to sing the lead. But I never tried to do that, and I think he respected me for that.
You're talking about the band members giving each other honor. I mean, a lot of Bill Monroe songs that I've, especially when you see the video like on YouTube or something, it always sounds like he's trying to outrace everybody. It's almost like he's trying to play faster than the rest of the band and they're trying to struggle to keep up with him. Was he doing that? Was he trying to get him to go faster?
I think a lot of that, he did a lot of that just for the heck of it.
Yeah.
Because he could, you know.
Yeah.
I got down at the opera one time and I'd been working on playing the tenor part to Patty on the Turnpike, you know, and also Roanoke. We got in that big dressing room down there at the Ryman. I asked him to play it, and I'd play harmony to it. And he played it, and a little different than the way I would play it. But I played the harmony to it, and he said, I never could do that. I could never play that part right there that you're doing. I said, well, Bill, it's not any harder than playing the lead. Yes, it is. Yes, sir. I can't do it then.
But I guess that was a compliment coming from him, that you could do it and he couldn't.
It was, you know.
But he didn't state it that way. He just said he couldn't do it.
Yeah.
He didn't compliment you.
He said, now you play this number here with me. So he played Roanoke. I mean, that thing was, he was doing 200 miles an hour. You know? But I hung right in there right with him. I would not give up.
So you were competitive after all.
So I guess that answers, pretty well answers that.
Now we know the truth.
I've had plenty of guys, not plenty of them, but a number of guys come up and want to test me out to see how I can sing, you know. I hate it. I always hate for somebody to do me that way, you know. But when somebody does you that way, you just got to show them what you're made out of. And I always do. I do that right now. If I go somewhere, some place, and I need to prove a point, I'll get out there. I'll prove my point. But if I don't have to, I'll sing falsetto or something else, you know. But I don't know. I think if you have something that's yours and you know, and you don't try to, I think that all those people back in those days, Monroe and Ernest Tubb, Eddie Arnold, all those people, I've been thinking about that for a while, but all of those people, I think they were all characters. And that's just the kind of people that they were. They were just downright characters of their own, and they had their own way and they all pulled jokes on each other. You know, they were all just full of fun all the time. You know, where this day and time, this is a more of a political world, guys. It's entertainers. You know, it's just not a time like it was back then. It's entertainers, and none they ever won was just characters of their own. You know, they had things about them that they don't have today. People, they don't do that today, and that's the generation of people I came up in. You know, Flat and Scruggs was in that influence. They got to be characters just like everybody else. So, but I know some little stories on a lot of them, you know. But dressing room number 2 down there is Osborne. I've shared that dressing room with Monroe for probably 15 years, last 15 years of his life, you know. And there was lots of funny things that went on in there, you know, in the dressing room. Some of them I can remember. I was times when I wasn't even there, you know, he was still a character in that dressing room, you know. But I remember, I'm just trying to think of some of the classic ones, you know. Bill was never, he was never, when he had a good player with him, you know, like Master Clemens worked with him, he didn't want the guy to leave. And when the guy left, well, he was mad at him, you know. And Master left and went on his own, and he did very well, playing the fiddle on his own. So Jim and Jesse, Monroe, and sometimes Willie Cooper shared that room in there. You know, most of the time, Monroe was always there, and we were always in there with him. Well, on Christmas down there one time, while Jim and Jesse, their fiddle player wanted to go home for Christmas. And Master lived there, so they got Master. He worked with them at one time. He got him to come out there and play the fiddle with him. Well, Monroe had never forgot about him leaving in, you know. So Master was over, and Monroe always had his mandolin in a corner over there. And Bill Monroe right across that thing, and everybody knew that was his spot. So Master put his fiddle case over there that night, and he had set his mandolin case in the floor. I think he really perturbed about that, and so Kenny Baker, myself, Sonny, and a whole bunch of us was all in that dressing room. Vassar knew good and well there was some tough feelings between him and Monroe. So he kept it. Monroe was sitting against the wall on the side. Vassar kept his back to him all the time. And Monroe whispered to me, he said, who is that fellow with that brother? I said, it's Vassar Clemens. Is that right? I said, yeah, it's Vassar Clemens. He worked with you. Yeah, he did it one time. So, Eddie Baker was sitting right beside Monroe, you know. Vassar, he sensed the fact that he better get out there, you know. So he got his fill put in the case, and he walked outside the door. Monroe looked around, he seen that the door was shut. He said, that fella right there, he just opened up right there. He said, he really never fit a player in this town. He said, they can't even play Katie Hill. They can't do nothing. That fella right there, he destroyed his fiddle player. I kept on harping on that Of course, when things like that's happening, you know, you just don't say nothing. You just say, well, you know, let the guy talk. I mean, you know, he would tell us as soon as tell me to shut up to anybody because he's wanted everybody to know that Vassar ruined every fiddle person's town. So, Baker worked, he was with Monroe. So Kenny Baker, he got enough of that. So he got up, you know, walked right over. Monroe said he walked right in front of him a couple times, you know. And Monroe kept right on you. And Kenny Baker, you know, had a whole kick full like that. He kicked the rug. He said, the guy just said, he never hurt my fiddle player, none. And Monroe just sat there and never solid, never said a word. He said, I just want you to know that he never, Baker's word was, I got it. He said, he never hurt my fiddle player. So there he goes. He walks out a couple times and he goes out the door. Monroe opens that door again, you know. He said, after Kenny slammed the door, he said, I don't care what he says, Vassar give us whatever. Vassar one time, see, we were playing a park out in Missouri, and Monroe was on that show that day, and Vassar was booked there. And so, Glenn Duncan was playing a fiddle with Bill. And Glenn and Vassar always got along real good. Well, Vassar wanted Glenn to go eat dinner with him somewhere, you know. So, Bill just didn't want that. He didn't want Glenn to go be hanging out with Vassar. But anyway, that was another story Glenn was telling about that. But Monroe was getting ready to go on that stage and Vassar came off. Vassar walked right past Monroe. And Monroe said, what was the name of that number you just played up there? Vassar said, Turkey and Straw. He said, no, sir. There ain't no Turkey in the country like to hear that number like that.
Did he ever get over it with Vassar?
You know, I don't know if he ever did or not. I think probably he did because Monroe in his last days, you know, and I hate to put it in that kind of a saying, but I think that Bill realized he wasn't going to be here very long, and he tried to make things right with everybody, and everybody that I know of, he made with everybody except Jimmy Martin. Jimmy Martin would not shake hands with Bill. And I think Bill was hurt over that right there. I really do. type of person. There's another character. He would be a D character there. But he wanted Monroe to come to him. And Monroe wouldn't do that to nobody. He would never go, he wouldn't. Monroe would do it in a way to where everything would be in his favor, you know. For instance, on that deal there, I'm going into the back of the Opry one day, and Monroe was going to go to Rolling Pine was driving the bus for it at that time and playing, working with it. And I go down there, and in the back, where you go in the back of the Opry House, why, his bus was set right across the whole, from one, just you had everything blocked. His bus was sitting there, you know. I thought, man, it's a strange place for him to park the bus. And there's a little tree growing back there, and he was back right up against that tree. And I looked up in the bus, and I started on into the Opry. I looked up there, and he was sitting there playing cards at the table, you know, and I was so in there. And I walked up on the bus, and I said, "What's wrong with your bus, dude?" "I don't know what's, they've got a fitter come down here to fix it. I don't know what's wrong with it." He just kept right on this dealing cards, you know. And he said, "Bobby, have you got a bus driver?" And he knew that, well, we had a bus driver. "Yeah, what's his name?" I told him. He said, "This boy driving my bus," she said, he said he has to take about 4 or 5 turns before he can do anything. If he want to turn left, he's got to just keep on turning. I said, "Man, what's coming next, you know?" I said, "Well, who is it?" "You know who it is. You know who it is." I said, "No, tell me who's driving the bus." He said, Rolling White said he's driving. I said, "His legs are too short. That's why he can't." Rolling isn't, you know, he isn't that high. Well, we got over that right there. And I went walking on into the Opry, and here he comes. He walked up beside me, and he had never mentioned Kenny Baker or Josh Graves' name since Baker left. He had never, he called him that other business. Yeah, he always, that's what he called Kenny Baker. That other business, if you see him anywhere, you don't know who it is. I didn't know who that other business was. He wouldn't even speak their name.
Wouldn't even say.
No, wouldn't say Kenny Baker. Well, he was walking into the back of that Opry, you know. And he walked up beside me and he said, "Bobby," said, "have you seen Kenny lately?" Gosh, he ain't said his name in 5 years. And he'd been that long since Kenny left him. He said, "Have you seen Kenny lately?" And I said, yeah, I see him every once in a while. "Well, if you happen to see him again, you tell him that there's some folks that wants me and him to get back together." "Why don't you take? I just need to know that. You just beat right around the bush, you know." So I said, "Well, I'll tell him that next time I see him." And I said, "What do you want me to tell him?" "Just tell him that there's some folks who want me and him to get back together. That's all you need to say." Well, that could have been him and anybody, you know. So we went on inside, and I got to think, the more I thought about that, how funny that was, really was. So, we was getting ready to go on stage. It was on his show that night. And so, I got to thinking, and I walked up to him, I said, "Bill, I've got Kenny's phone number. Would you like to have that?" "I've got it at home somewhere. I'll find it out there somewhere." He just I said, "Well, okay, that's all right, you know." And so we got the Opry over with and walked back to the dressing room. I saw him at the door again, they're going in. And I said, "You want me to," I said, why don't you call Kenny and tell him yourself, you know, that the people want you to get back together." "Well, I guess I could do that right there." He said, "You see, he started every bit of this right here." Putting off on Kenny that he's the one
He
who
did
caused
that.
the whole thing, you know. And so, but what started, oh Lord, and what started the whole thing was in Jefferson, Alabama. Kenny told me many times that he had never played anything but Jerusalem Ridge. He would like to play other tunes, you know. And Monroe would call on him just to do Jerusalem Ridge. And he said, God, I just got tired of playing that daggone tune. They were on the stage, and we were going to be there on Saturday. Monroe was there on Friday. And they were out there on the stage, and Monroe said, and I found out from somebody that was there today exactly what happened. Monroe said, oh, we got Kenny Baker over here. He's going to play an old timer here that he wrote. I didn't have nothing to do with it. He wrote it, but his name is on it as he wrote it.
Yeah.
He kind of Kenny Baker wrote it. He's going to play Jerusalem Ridge for you. And he turned around and asked Kenny, said, do you want to play that number there? Kenny says, not in particular. Here we are, right on the stage. I mean, and Kenny says, well, I ain't going to ask you to play that no more then. Play what you want to. Baker just turned and walked off the stage. Just turned and flatly walked off, put his fiddle in the case and got it, and just kept walking, clear to the back of the car, and just disappeared. I said, remember that you wanted to finish that show without Kenny Baker. Well, that was it for Kenny. He had it right here. And so I think Kenny was telling me later about what happened after that. I said, I said, you was on the bus, you know. I said, how did you get home? My God, I found a way home. I didn't have to ride with him. And he said, I just went back there to some of my friends. He said, I just sat down until I got drunk.
Oh my.
Well, I thought, get back to what Monroe was wanting him and Kenny to get back together. I thought myself, I thought I'd call Kenny up. I said, no, I want to see more of this right here. And so I thought, well, I'm going to wait until I see Kenny and tell him. So it was over in Cherokee, North Carolina. Baker come up on the bus, and I told him, I said, Monroe, I just want to see how his reaction would be, you know. I said, Monroe come up to me in the office the other day and told me to tell you to call him. He'd like for you and him to get back together. My God, he knows where I live. He knows where I live. Let him come and see me. He said, I ain't going to go see him. So that went on and on for a while. But I think at that particular time, Bill, he knew that his days were numbered on this earth, you know. And he just wanted to, I think he wanted Kenny to, what he really wanted, he wanted Kenny to come and ask him to come back and play. Baker was just as stubborn as him, boy, he just would not do that. But him and Josh was doing okay together, so that thing like that right there is typical Bill Monroe, you know. And Monroe was he was not he was a character. I mean, you never did know how to. I'll tell you, Glenn Duncan. I wish he was here. He can tell you some. Glenn worked with him for 3 or 4 years. He can tell you some of it. Absolutely, it's just like a fairy tale if you read in a book somewhere. that things that he would do and say and expect people to do, you know. And you don't. And they would happen. Things like that would happen, and they wouldn't planned out. You know, it's just. And a few things that I know about it, it's just funny after you, it's not funny when it's happening, but when the whole thing is over with, you get thinking, well, that is really funny. You just laugh yourself silly. But man, I'm telling you what's the truth. There's just in that dressing room there, right? That's he wrote a tune called Northern White Clouds. I like the tune, and I learned it. I learned to play on the mountain. And, so Billy Joe Foster was playing fiddle with him then, and him and Taylor Tate was in the dressing room playing. And Taylor was playing the harmony to it. And I'm over in the corner where I wouldn't bother him a soul, nothing like that. I'm over the corner. And Monroe come over there and said, Bobby said, did you know that tune they're playing right there? I said, yes. I taught them everything they know about that number there. Really? I said, yes, sir. They didn't know nothing about that number right there, and I taught them everything they knew about it. After I learned that tune, I knew good well he never talked that, I never said a word about it. You're going to have to prove it to us one of those days. So, about 3-4 weeks after that, a whole bunch of us was in that dressing room. I walked up to him, I took that Mandolin, I said, Jerry, this is where I'm at. He reached and grabbed it, I said, play me Northern White, I want you to teach me. I said, I'm going to learn that too. He teaches that way. He fiddling around and he played this, played that. I said, that ain't it there. And he went on about 3-4 of the studio. He said, he went there and said, that's not Northern White. I said, you told me right over here in that corner here 3 weeks ago that you taught them how to play. I said, I want to learn that. I said, I want you to teach me something. I'm going to have to go back and work on that number somewhere. I'm not thinking straight right now. I said, no, you ain't. He was a funny character, but all of those guys, they had their own way of being funny and playing jokes on people, Ernest Tubb I got to know him real well. George Morgan, man, they pulled Archie Campbell, the guy, every one of them. You didn't watch them, they run you crazy pulling stuff on you. They got serious with it too, And Sean Jackson played the dobro with Johnny Jack, played steel guitar with that for a while. Sean was a great dog, man, you'd have to watch him. He pulled jokes on you. And they would like to get the people that was real dead serious. They wanted to see them break out laughing. Monroe said you play jokes on him, he didn't ever think that was funny. He wouldn't ever laugh, he just look off. Tubb, he made the brags about he never did go on stage without his head. And so, played a show one time, Sean Jackson was there with Johnny Wright and Keith Wells. And Tubb, before they introduced him, he always he laid his guitar down on top of the case, put his hat on top of the guitar. And just before they introduced him, he put the hat on. Yeah. Shot called him, he saw that one night. And somebody come up and just said something earnestly. He just turned like this. Shot reached down there and got that hat and just walked over with it. Went to the other side of the stage. And he said, Ernest Tubb. He looked around that hat and he said, I stole my hat. So he had to go on. And Shot knew that he had made a mistake. He never went on stage in his life without his hat. And so Shot went on that other side, but here's Ernest out there without his hat on. Shot was waving his hat like that. And he walked out and said, here's one night you went on without it. Throw that whole crazy. I'll get you back for this, you wait and see. A later tour way down the road somewhere, he let Shot forget about that. They went somewhere and Shot had pulled off his shoes, stage shoes. He pulled off and let him sit there. Tubb called him with his back turned, went and grabbed him, got one of those shoes, and walked off with it. He didn't have but one shoe. So he kept that shoe and went to the post office the next day, put it in a shoebox, and mailed it back to the local library. Told him to get a shot shoe back to him. He told Shot, he said, I went out and saved out my head. He said, you don't save out of shoe. That guy, they pull stuff like that. Ernest Tubb, we worked a lot of shows with him, and he played golf, you know. Ernest, he's kind of a golfer too. He was out there in Texas and played. It's kind of a matinee show, and we'd all kid around with Ernest. You know, he's full of jokes too. You know, so. We noticed the crowd was way out front on the stage. We noticed the crowd was dying laughing about something. He didn't look around or anything, so finally I looked around there, Tubb stood behind us with a golf club and with a golf ball back to back full across the stage. Anything, and people out there just dying laughing. He dressed up in that hat and outfit on him, he would run out there and stuff. Him out there playing golf, and that's up there trying to put on a show. I'll tell you another thing about him. One time down in Shreveport, Louisiana, we was on a 20-day tour with Ernest Tubb and Ken Price, and Shreveport was the last date on that tour. We've been gone 20 days from home. He always told Sonny at the opera when he'd introduce us, he said, some of these days I'm going to shave old Sonny's beard off. So we got down there to Shreveport. We was on the stage. Ernest had never come on yet. So we was on the stage, and here comes Tubb out there on the stage. Brought a chair with them old shaving bugs. Full of soap. He come out there and brought that chair, and he just got Sonny and he set him down in that chair. He put a towel around him, he brought everything with him right there like a barber chair. And Sonny sat down, he had the manager there and shoved a tub, got that shaving mug and put shaving stuff all over his face. And he pulled out a razor and just started going to shave that beard. Of course, that blade probably been used 100 times. Man, Sonny said, don't do that. Said, you're tearing my face all to pieces. I told you I didn't want to shave that beard off. That crowd out there, I mean, them people was going, they was laughing so loud. A guy like Ernest Tubb, they never seen nothing like that out of their And they just, it was hilarious. Finally he decided, Sonny told me, he said, that's pulling too hard, you know. He said, okay, son, I'll let you go this time. He wanted Sonny's beard, shaving cream off of him. Well, Sonny said, we got to get him back. So Sonny went to the troubadours. So what can we do to get him back to that Sonny he pulled off? And troubadour said, well, you could go out to the bus and put our uniforms on, you know. So that's what we'll do. They went to the bus and all the troubadours' uniforms, our guys put them on. So before, they were told about when all our guys went out there and sat down to steel guitar, and one of them had an electric guitar, just standing out there. He said, there's Ernest Tubb in Texas. And I got me a cord, an extra cord, and I plugged my mandolin into the house PA to where it would come out there, but he couldn't see where that was coming from. And so he started out on walking the floor over here going, where the guitar was normal, that thing I think, I started that break on walking the floor over here. He turned around and he said, Where is that? What is that? Where's that come from? He looked, he didn't see none of his troubadours out there. He just about folded up. None of them couldn't take a break on the thing out there. Sonny, we got off the stage. He says, I'll pay you back for that one. And he was a jokester too. Tub one time on a tour, Tub and Buddy Emmons, the troubadours, Buddy Emmons and I guess Stonewall Jackson was on that trip there, and a whole bunch of them. They was up in a hotel playing cards. And Buddy Emmons was just winning everything that Tub had. Tub couldn't win that night. And Buddy had a little small hat on, you know, small cap of some kind. So Tub got to claim that cap was spooky if he couldn't win. He turned around and said, how much you want for that stupid cap? He said, that thing's costing me, I can't win. And he said, I'll get $10 for it. Tub said, I'm gonna give you $25 for that thing. So you give $25 to Buddy after he'd been losing at poker all night, you know. Give Buddy $25 for that hat. He said, get rid of that. He took it over and about 7 stories up and threw it out the window. And so, Shop Jackson was on that tour, Shop and some of them other troubadours. They'd been out to eat. They come across the street there to the motel. One of them said, that's Buddy's cat. Picked that cap up, and they knew where it earned stuff, picked it up and took it back up there and gave it to Buddy.
Did Ernest have to pay again to get rid of it?
I don't know what he did then.
But I heard he kept a poker game going over his bus all the time. And he just-
Yeah, that's the thing they did for pastime, you know.
Just, yeah.
And,
I'm glad I heard.
I used to go up on Ernest's bus. I had a record at me and my uncle, my mom's brother, he played the guitar. And we went down to a little old cubby hole place where they make a record, you know. And I went down there and made two of his songs on that little record. And I kept them forever. I told him about me trying to imitate him, you know. And he was really interested in that. I told him I had those little recordings, and he made me make a copy of them and bring them to him. And I used to sit up on his bus and talk to him. He'd sit out there on his bus and drink coffee. Kind of play dealers, what is that card game?
Solitaire.
What?
Solitaire?
Yeah. They introduced him, you know. But I got to know him real well. And Monroe, you know. It's a funny thing to me though, the guys like Tub would never pull a joke on Monroe. Or vice versa. Monroe would he'd get in on a joke, but he didn't want nobody to know that he had a part of it, you know. But some of them other than George Morgan was a prankster, boy. He did that all the time, you know. But those guys were just characters. There's not that kind of characters anymore, you know. Monroe, I tell you, if I can think of how he goes. I don't know, are y'all familiar with Mike Bull?
Yeah.
The bass player?
Yep.
Bub went with Monroe one weekend to play the bass. And so, they were on the bus. Monroe was back in his room on the bus. And they got some coffee and brought it on the bus with cream in the coffee. And thought someone was going to give it to Bill, you know. And Bub was sitting up there, and Bill had his hat laying up on the seat or somewhere, and Bub spilled coffee on his hat. And so he said, well, I got to, told the bluegrass boy, he said, I got to go tell him, I got to. So Bub took the hat back there and showed it to him. He said, Bill, I spilled coffee on your hat. Oh, let me see that here, what have you done? Looked at that and said, oh, you ruined my head. What did you pour on it? He said, I did coffee spilled on it. Oh, that'll never come out of there. So Bub said, well, he said, well, I'll take it, I'll get it fixed for you. I'll get it cleaned for you. He said, well, okay. And so Bub took that hat, he got it cleaned, and they got every bit of that coffee stains off that hat. When he brought it back to the opera, and there was a guy named Bill Price. Monroe didn't care too much about, you know. And he was a singer, player. But Monroe just never, he tried to sing like Monroe, that didn't go over too good. Just keep that in mind, it's got a name to Bill Price. Mike brought Bill's hat back, he gave it to him down there at the opera. He said, Bill brought your hand back. Oh, that looks really good. I'm really happy to see that right there. He said, well, how much did it cost? And Mike says, well, Bill the price. And he said, Bill the price, and what's he got to do with it? That same thing, type thing happened up there at Sunset Park in West Grove, Pennsylvania. Dana Cup was with him, and the guy that owned the park there, his name was Mark Swan. And Monroe wanted to look real good, you know. He asked Dana said, what's this fellow's name here we working for? Dana said, Nurse Walton. He said, what? He said, Nurse Walton. Nurse Walton said, what's he got to do with it? Misunderstood his name. A lot of things that happened in that dressing room number 2 down there. I kind of hated at the flood we got in there, you know. But yeah, they saved all the pictures. They got pictures all around the wall of us and Monroe and Jim and Jesse and Skaggs and Delma Curry and all of us in there, you know. Flat got pictures of, but the water didn't get up. It didn't get up.
But they did save all the pictures.
Yeah, it didn't get up that high. Mr. Fisher told me that the water in the dressing rooms and the stage got up to right here. And he's about as tall as I am. And I can't imagine that water getting up that high. The river up there. I don't know. It only liked, it got into the opera house. But the rhyming is like at 5th and Broadway. And the river comes right by First Avenue, and 2nd and 3rd comes right by there. And it got to 2nd Street, and the rhyme was at 5th Street. It got pretty close to the rhyme auditorium, but it didn't get in at all. But all that whole section down through there was flooded. I wish that some of the other guys would come in here. I could think of some more stories.
You ever see any music get written in the room? Any music get written in the dressing room? Did any music get written, composed in the dressing room? You know what I mean? Did anybody write any tunes or songs in the dressing room that you're aware of? Yeah, in the dressing room number 2. Besides Northern White Clouds, of course.
I think that by them rehearsing in there and playing, I think they come across some ideas for him to maybe get an idea for an instrumental. He was one time actually City Breakdown is a tune there. They played Ashland, Kentucky. And Kenny knew some friends way out in the country over there. And when they got done with the show, well, he went to those people's houses. He'd go over and stay half the night with them, you know. And Bill was checked in a motel there in Ashland. And Kenny went over and been drinking a little bit, so he called Kenny right up and told him, "You've got to come over here. I wrote a number and called it, and I want you to come over here and learn this so I won't forget it." Kenny said, "Bill, I'm over here partying." He said, I'd rather not. That's okay, just come in on. He, of course, I put up with that. He said, "Come on over here and then hit me with this number." And so Kenny came over. He got about half lit up and over there, you know. And Bill said, "Where you been anyway?" He said, "I've been over to some people's house. What are they doing over there?" And he said, "What's it look like?" "Well, I don't touch that stuff right there, so there's no use of me going back over there." So, but he got he had written part of that Ashland City
Breakdown.
or Ashland Breakdown. He'd written part of it, but he knew that there probably was another part that needed to be put in there. And Kenny come over. Baker told me later on, as drunk as I was, he said, "I figured out that other part. That old man, he wasn't drunk. He should have been able to figure it out."
He'll not drink.
No.
He didn't like it much with his band either, did he?
No, but you know, there's a guy, little Jimmy Campbell, played the fiddle with him.
Mm-hmm.
Dan Cup told me that he never would say a word to him about drinking.
Huh.
And he'd get on to the rest of it that couldn't, they wouldn't drink. Tom Ewan, he's a kind of a drinker, and Dan said they played a place one night up in Pennsylvania. And the old stage probably about the height of this right here. It's this old small club, you know. Tom had just said went off that afternoon somewhere and just got plastered, you know. And Dana said we was trying to sober him up, get him before he could play. And he said he couldn't get him sober up. He was just too drunk. And he said, "Bill, he didn't know Tom was like that." He said, "On the stage, Tom was standing out there, just drunk everything." So he wanted to kick off the pen. Then he said Tom tried about 3 or 4 times to do that on the guitar. And the monitor said, "Dana, you kick that out. You go and start that on the banjo. He must not be feeling too good or something." You know? So he said he wasn't feeling to be drunk. So there was a lady sitting right down, the little stage, sitting right straight down in the row of chairs there. And Tom fell off that stage. He fell off that stage and his head landed right in her belly. You know? And so he said there he was trying to get up, you know, and people around there were trying to help him get up. I said, "What did Bill do?" He said, "He just stood there and just looked up in there." What else could he do? The funny thing about that story there, Dana had told me about it, but whichever one was thinking, "Man, I'd like to have a tape of that." Jesse Randall, he was working on a CD to get Mandolin CD. And I was out to his house, we were running over some things, you know. Joy, his wife, I was telling her about that. She says, "I was there." I said, "You was?" She said, I got a tape of that." I said, "I want you to make me a tape, make me a copy of that right there." And boy, in the tape, I wish it'd been a video, but it was a tape. You used to hear all this scrambling around, and they finally kicked off New Skin and Blues or something like that. Tom got out on the microphone, he said, "You old genius, you." Who do you think you are, you old genius? I said, what did Monroe do? He said, he just stood there. He just stood there and never said a word, you know. You get to thinking, what could he say?
Yeah.
Did Tom have to walk home?
Huh?
Did Tom have to walk home?
No, you know what? He just, the next morning when they got up, Monroe had went out and got him a cup of coffee and brought to Tom. He said, he was not feeling good last night. Here's some coffee for you this morning. We got him some coffee. Now, Jimmy Campbell, when he worked and played the fiddle with him, he just drank right in front of him all the time. And Monroe never would say a word to him about that. But they couldn't figure that out, why he scoring this and here he didn't want this and right, lived over there for this and here, you know. And Jimmy Campbell, Monroe wanted to play like Kenny Baker, you know. But Campbell would play like Kenny Baker in the dressing room. When he go out on stage, he'd play like Kenny Martin. Kenny Martin worked with Monroe way back out of stage.
Another one that footed with.
Well, if it's okay with you all, I'm gonna leave just a little bit early. They programmed to leave at 4. And I'd better get back to the office at 7:30.
Oh, yeah.
That's 3.5 hours to do that. So, it's okay with you all.
Well, that's certainly all right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Try to make it back for that right there. I should have set my time a little bit later in the night, but I didn't do that. But we got